Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Side. I'm Paul James Caiden, and today we are going to discuss a topic that is very closely related to the last podcast I had put out about brain implants, global surveillance, and the other issue mentioned in that particular episode. I wanted to talk about this, or at least touch on it, in that particular podcast, but, I had run out of time. I ran over time. I usually like to keep these things around 30 minutes or so because I know not everyone has all day to listen to a podcast, so I try to do it in a timely fashion that doesn't take, all morning or all day to listen to, because I know people are very busy. But as I thought about it, I said, this would maybe make a good standalone podcast to talk about this particular subject. And to start the discussion off, I would ask the question, why does man do these things? Why would he want to invent an artificial intelligence that could surpass him in logic, intelligence, possibly even become a threat to his existence on this planet? Why would man want to create something that would go in their brain to make them more like that artificial intelligence? Smarter. No need to go to school anymore. We just download information into our brain. We're keeping up with AI. Why does man come up with these things and feel the need that he has to control, manipulate, and own the weather, for crying out loud? Why does he look to genetically modify the environment, his food? Why does he take it upon himself to become so arrogant that he considers himself an elitist or an elite class, and then decide he's on a divine mission to be the God of this world, the God of the universe, and then become so prideful, so full of arrogance that he begins to pick and choose who's going to live in the new utopia that he is going to build. How many people will be allowed to live in that new utopia that he's going to build? Why has this been a thing since the inception of man? I mean, some may argue and say, well, he's under the influence of dark powers or the dark influence of the devil. And that may be so. But if you really think about it, there's no entity, whether it be God or other, that can make man do anything that he doesn't want to do. The choice can be presented. The temptation can be given. The idea can be handed over to our consciousness, but it's always our decision, our free will decision to take that idea, act on that thought. So nobody's forcing anybody at gunpoint to make any decision. But yet it is true that as we read the old tale of Adam and Eve in Genesis, where the serpent says, you can eat the fruit from this forbidden tree and you will not die, but you will become gods. Now, the early Christians did not take the story of Adam and Eve literally. They looked at it as an allegory of something that happened that kind of told the story, but not the whole story of the creation and formation of the universe, man, etc., so forth. But either way you look at it, the thought is there that somehow man got the idea you can be God. And it's a thought that stuck because man always wanted to rise into the heavens and sit with the gods or be among the gods. But now that has completely changed in this day and age. Many of these new atheists, the scientists that are out there, even the average man and woman on the street have such a hatred of the idea or concept of the divine. All you have to do is mention it and you can see the anger start to burn in their eyes. And sometimes they can't fight that anger. They will attack. So there's this mindset, this movement in this day and age, unlike ancient man who wanted to rise up to the heavens and sit among the gods. Now man wants to push the idea of anything divine out of the equation and become God, the only God. At least the God of his own little world. And this is why we have these elitists who feel that they're on some divine mission to build their utopia on the earth. They're the stewards and the lords and the gods of this world, and they will eventually conquer the stars and, seed other planets with new colonies and new life. They will be the gods. And how they attain this? Well, maybe they'll find through the bizarre and strange rituals that they do. Maybe they will find the answer to eternal life. Stop aging. No more sickness, no more disease. But better yet, some say our best hope is in science. And we know that over the years, the last few years, there's been the idea of downloading someone's consciousness when they die into some form of AI so that person can just go on and on and on. Always existing, but perhaps in a different form on this earth. So now it's not only that man wants to be God, but why is it when he gets this idea to become God or a God, he becomes very arrogant, he becomes very violent, hence proving himself to be a very poor God, so he isn't a God at all, no matter how much technology or medical breakthroughs you give him, or if you send him to the stars, it still shows him to be not God. Because in theology, no matter what theology you look at in Christianity or what form of Christianity or other religions, God is only God because he has certain attributes. He is omnipotent, omniscient. He is good, he is love, he is kind, he is forgiving, he is unchanging. He's all these things. If you take one of those elements away or replace it with an element that if we take love and replace it with hate, if we take away kindness and replace it with cruelness or cruelty, then that being fails to be God, because there are key components that, at least from our standpoint, that how, at least in what microbe we can define the divine being or know the divine being. There are certain components that if you take them out or replace them, it is no longer God, it is no longer divine, it is no longer that being. Something else would be higher, thus there would be another God or a higher supreme being, because this one is fallible. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like going to drink from a river on a mountaintop. It looks clear, it looks pure, it's cold, it's inviting, but you take one sip and it's bitter. And you realize that there's something in that water. It's not clean, it's not fit for consumption, it'll make you sick. So you go on a quest for pure water, unpolluted water, water that you can drink. There is a water source that is better and more pure than this polluted stream. Hence it is with God. If there is something purer than God is not God, he is something else. So, all that aside, all that being said, man shows himself not to be God and incapable of being God or even a God. Because the minute he gets this idea that I'm going to be God or the God of this world or the God of the universe, and I'm going to build my little utopia according to my image, my plan, my philosophy, the minute he starts to do that, the minute he starts to think that, what follows is, now who is not fit to be a part of my divine plan? Who must I get rid of? Who must I kill? Who must I deem worthy to receive the food or the supplies that I have to offer? This group, these people beyond a certain number, they are disqualified. And many of them have to die to get the population down to this certain group. And in order to make that utopia, rather than just making it and making it beautiful, well, we'll pollute the skies, we'll pollute the water, we'll pollute the soil, we'll kill the trees, we'll genetically modify the food, it'll make people sick, we'll put things in there on purpose that will make them sick. So right away, again, this disqualifies him from being God, because this is not divine behavior. See, understand something, ladies and gentlemen. God is a being that is above our way of thinking and acting. And the same problem, this is why we have the same problem in some religions, because they attribute to God the personalities of men. God only loves Christians. God only loves Jews. God only loves Muslims. God only loves me. We're God's chosen people. Everybody else is a sinner. Everybody else is a reprobate. Everybody else is a dog, and they will either convert, comply, or die. Over and over and over, we see this being done. But why? And why can't even religious people get it straight? Why do they sit back and look at the elites and the people that are doing these crazy things and shake their head, but then turn around and go, well, you know what? Jesus is going to kill them when he comes. Or I may have to rise up and go to war, and I'll kill them for Jesus. I'll kill them for God. I'll kill them for Allah. And that thought to kill and eliminate and destroy other people very quickly enters into the equation. Even though Jesus said, he who lives by the sword will die by the sword. Even though the Quran says you are allowed to fight, but when they stop pursuing you, if they make peace, you must do likewise. You are not allowed just to pick out who you think are the enemies of God and then go attack and kill them. The very Quran that some of these people read says that these people are evil, they make mischief on the earth, and they will have their place in the fire. But why doesn't that register in the minds of people who are supposed to be religious? Why does the Jewish scripture say, if an alien comes or a stranger comes and wants to dwell among you, treat him as one of your own? But then there are some religious leaders in that religion who say, nope. If they're not born and bred in this particular land, well, they're a goyim, they're a dog, they're going to be our slave, they're going to do things our way, or they're going to die. Over and over and over. It just perpetuates itself from the man who wants to be God to the man who thinks he's following the right God. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing many of us probably never consider. God is spirit. In metaphysics, we say God is infinite mind. He is the unseen mind that knows all, is all, created all. In him we live and move and have our being. And as Jesus said, we must worship God in spirit and in truth. And one of the big problems is, rather than get to know God on his own terms, he is spirit. He is the great infinite mind, creator, made all, is in all, through all. Some people say, oh, that's just, that's that Middle Eastern, crap. No. Part of the big problem is that we've taken God and flung him way out there in the heavens somewhere, hoping that our prayers will reach him. And most of the time, even if we believe in God, we don't believe that they do. And we're just down here on the earth to suffer through. Yet Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Christ in you. See, folks, we've always looked at God being way out there or way up there, some dude in a white robe with a crown on his head sitting on a golden throne. Sometimes he hears our prayers, most times he don't. And then what happens? Well, we get this idea. We get this idea that we can get our prayers answered, make things better by coming up with all these rituals and beliefs that are steeped in materialism and matter, not spirit and truth. If I eat this little wafer and I drink from this cup, I'm good with God. If I go to the priest and confess my sin and then say 20 Hail Marys, I'm okay with God. If I read the Quran and go to the mosque every day that I'm supposed to and pray 3 times, 5 times a day, I'm okay with God. If I kill the dogs and look to, wipe from the earth these people that won't convert and conform, I'm okay with God. I'm thinking godly. If people don't do what I want, I can go on a holy war and kill them. And I'm okay with God, because that's what he would want me to do. He's like me. God is a man of war, as the Old Testament says, so that's okay. Then we have the other individuals who want to be God. If I invent this chip that goes in my brain and allows me to download information and be smarter. If I create this AI that'll be smarter than me and solve all my problems, even though there's a risk that it could decide to destroy me, maybe I'll be okay. Because it'll be smarter, maybe it'll solve all my problems. If I kill off half the people through population control, decide who can live in my little utopia, set back with my big fistful of money and, my big arrogant smile, my conscience seared, I don't even give a shit what's right or wrong anymore. Pardon my language. I'll do what I want, say what I want, kill who I want, take what I want. It doesn't matter. Because when all is said and done, I, the man who is the elite on this earth, on a divine mission, well, I'm going to be okay, because by the time I reach the end of that mission, it's going to be heaven on earth. And I'm going to be okay because I made it okay for myself. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest problem. Looking to be God, become God, manipulate God, get God to answer your prayers, get God to help you, get God to make everything all right in this world according to your beliefs, through all these material practices, gadgets, wafers, wines, rosaries, books, prayers. But whatever happened to connecting with God in spirit and in truth? Whatever happened to the kingdom of heaven is within you? Whatever happened to Christ in you? Whatever happened to the Spirit of God dwelling in you? Whatever happened to the God who is a friend that sticks closer to you than a brother? Whatever happened to the God mentioned in the Quran, who is one who is closer to you than your own jugular vein? Whatever happened to that God who is right there with us and in us? No, he's out there, somewhere. And the ancients sacrificed animals, other people, themselves, spilled blood, cut out virgins' hearts, try to appease the gods and get them to do what they wanted to do, give them good harvests. And they wouldn't starve during the winter, answer their prayers. But now what do we do today? Well, we may not sacrifice animals. I mean, some people still do. Some people want to bring that practice back. But we start sacrificing ourselves, our integrity. We start sacrificing spirit and truth. We start sacrificing the God in us, the kingdom of God within us. We start sacrificing our morals, our decency, because we start running after all these material junk that we think is going to make us smarter, live longer, live forever, bring the kingdom of heaven quicker upon the earth, because we're going to kill all the infidels. We're going to go on a great holy war. We sacrificed it all on the altar of our own stupidity. I'm sorry to say that. Our own arrogance. Our own blindness. And we don't even know where God is anymore. Because flinging him way out there in the cosmos somewhere, and sometimes he helps, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he may hear my prayers, most times he don't. Well, what kind of attitude does that give us? Guess I have to figure this out myself. Maybe I need to come up with a brain implant. Maybe I need to come up with AI. Maybe I need to kill my neighbors. Maybe I need to blow up that country. Maybe I need to do whatever I need to do. Because after all, that's what God would want me to do. Maybe he'll hear my prayers then. Maybe he'll come back to earth then. Maybe he'll fix all the problems of the world then. If I just make the first move. But ladies and gentlemen, that first move on the behalf of human beings with their material, outward ways of trying to be God and reach God takes them always further away from God. It makes them more arrogant. It makes them more prideful. It makes them less human. It makes them less moral. It makes them less loving. It makes them less kind. It makes them more tolerant, or makes them less tolerant, rather. Makes them less of all those things. I think I said more, but it makes them less loving, less kind, less tolerant, less moral. It makes them less like God, degree by degree, because they're not seeking him in spirit, in truth, in mind. Not seeking him right here within. But they're seeking him out there somewhere. Through all this junk that they think makes them more holy or will make them divine. And it's funny, because if you know anything about the metaphysics, when a Christian metaphysician talks about the book of Revelation and the end of days, that's exactly what they talk about. They say in those last days, all this Antichrist and mark of the beast and, hell on earth that's going on everywhere. It isn't necessarily some devil and demons causing it all. It's man putting more and more faith in matter, in the material, until he's blinded by his own inventions and philosophies and arrogance and erroneous thoughts that take him further and further and further away from God until everything just starts to implode. And by golly, that's pretty much where we're at and where we're headed. And this is why we have things like brain implants. This is why we want things like global surveillance. Control the people. It'll make things better. If we tell them how to behave and what we want them to do and what's unacceptable, and we shame them on social media and on the news or on the internet if they do what we say they shouldn't do, well, they'll behave better. It'll be a better society because we'll make them act the way we think they should act. But then is that godly? Oh, look at Jim over there. He just did something that we don't like. Or it looks like he's having a bad day. Hey, Jim, we don't like people that are having bad days or threw their trash in the wrong container. So, we're going to shame you all over, take away your rights. You're not allowed to get a cab, ride the bus, buy groceries this week. Is that godly? Nope. But that's man's very feeble attempt to try to become God. And then, of course, we have the religious people who put all of their faith in a politician. This is man's God. Or this is God's man. This is God's instrument that's going to save America, save the world. Well, here we go again. The God out there isn't hearing our prayers. He isn't quite doing the job. So let's bring it down to the material level. This particular man, this particular woman, this particular politician, we need to vote for them, and we all need to rally around him or her and beat up everybody else and shame everybody else that doesn't like this politician, because now all of our faith is in that politician. This is God's man. This is God's woman. This is the person who's going to save us all. Sacrificing spirit and truth for materiality and matter. And it will never work. Never will it work. But this is what so many people try to do. And this is why there are so many problems in the world with religion, with people trying to be God. And they're all acting the same way. Arrogant, mean, evil, violent, murderous, you name it. And until we turn this thing around and start looking for God in spirit, in truth, and in truth, it's only going to get worse. Because we'll never accomplish those things that we want to accomplish, seeking them in the things of this material world. Because that's not where our faith belongs. So I hope you all got something out of this today. It was something I really wanted to talk about. Again, I think it's kind of a pertinent subject, something we all need to ponder in this day and age. So that's my spiel for this episode. Again, thanks for listening, and everybody stay safe out there, and I'll see you again on the spirit side.